Are you a new leader? Maybe you've recently been promoted or hired into a new senior leadership position. You're excited, keen to demonstrate your capabilities. And with your fresh perspective, you can already see where changes are needed. I was that leader once, fresh out of school, and the board had hired me to bring change to the organization. But nothing went as planned. And those changes were so much harder than they needed to be. That first experience over 25 years ago as a new leader introducing change taught me a valuable lesson. And that's what I want to share with you today. One of the common mistakes new leaders make and how to introduce change when you are the new person in the neighborhood. I remember what it was like to be that new leader. One of the biggest challenges you face when it comes to enabling change, if you're the new person, is balancing your desire to demonstrate your ability to lead and enable change in the organization, especially if you've been brought in with the expectation that you will create and make some changes in the organization, balancing that desire to demonstrate your capability with the readiness, capacity, and understanding the history of that organization when it comes to change. Finding that balance is important. Rushing to make changes too quickly before you fully understand the level of readiness, the capacity of the organization, the history of where it's been, and what it's learned previously about change can set you, your employees, and the organization up for failure. One Harvard Business Review study found that almost 1/3 of companies were worse off after the change than before it was made. And I can recall more than one new executive lamenting, often after they were let go, about how they were hired to make change in the organization. But based on their experience, they didn't believe the company really wanted to change. But like my first experience, it's not that the organization didn't want to change, or at least in most cases, that's not the situation. The organization and the employees know they need to change. They did want to change, but often it's a case of the new leader, you as a new leader, your perspective, your understanding of the problem, your readiness for change is not aligned with the readiness, the perceptions, and the capability of what exists in the organization. And you simply move too quickly. When that happens, especially if you are working with a resistant mindset, then it's easy for you to dismiss those different perspectives, that lack of engagement, that pushback about maybe why those changes won't work or why they weren't needed as resistance to change. And that leads you to taking actions that can make the situation worse instead of better. So it sounds counterintuitive, but to enable change quickly, when you're the new person, you need to take it slow. As the new leaders, those early perceptions, beliefs, and assumptions you have about your role, the changes that are needed, the expectations, resistance, the beliefs you have about resistance, and your desire to demonstrate your capability, to enable change quickly, creates blind spots that can make it harder to enable change. That's the lesson I learned so many years ago and made it the foundation of my practice. Slow down, adopt a readiness mindset, approach change within the context of the organization and from the perspective of the people that will have to do that heavy lifting. And pause, reflect, and start asking some basic questions, even when they're uncomfortable. Like, how do I know not how I think I know, that the change that I'm proposing is needed and will address the problem. Has it been tried before? What happened the last time? And what perceptions do people have who have worked there the longest about the problem and the solutions or the changes that were made previously in the organization? And then I often will ask, is there evidence that the current situation is working? And what is it that's working about the current situation? Because we want to be careful when we're introducing change that we're not eliminating what already works for us, that we're building on the strengths that are already there. And finally, I want to challenge my own assumptions. What assumptions am I making? Are they valid? Do I really have evidence? And here's where you may need to be more questioning, because there is a tendency for us to engage and trigger confirmation bias, where we look only for the evidence that supports what we believe and see as the way to go. So if you're a new leader and you are looking to create and introduce changes in your department or your area, then think about, what is the context of that change? What do I see that others don't see? What do they see that I don't see? Engage with those employees, slow down, ask questions, and allow them to help you to move forward. It will make everyone more successful, your organization healthier, and more sustainable. If you've reached this far in the video, hit that thumbs up button and let us know your comments. I'm curious to know, what's been your experience as a new leader introducing change? What have you been successful with? What have some of your challenges been? And if you'd like to see more videos on confirmation bias and working as a new leader, let me know. All right, that's it for now. We'll talk to you soon.